Cotton nuts is sale. 6 for a quarter, 10 for a half. You can have a dozen if you crack 'em fast. Selling nuts, hot nuts, buying from the peanut man. Yeah, come on and get your nuts.
Part of the challenge of harvesting acorns is getting to them before all the other things that eat them get to them. So we have like different kinds of acorns in here. Like we've got these like long skinny ones, and these are usually the bitter acorns, and sort of like coast live oaks and stuff like that. And we have some of those big fat ones in here too, which are usually a sweet acorn. And with the sweet acorns like these, people have to sort of fight with the squirrels and whatnot to get at them.
All of them with holes are wormy.
Correct.
They all need to be separated if they have a hole.
First thing is to crack them, then shell them. We're gonna use this to both crack, like this molcajete is a twofer. It's taking the place of the implement of like a flat rock
Whoa,
and a
that was
hammer
dope.
stone to crack the shells. We have to like rub off an outer layer that's sort of like the red skin on a peanut, and so we're gonna rub that off, and then we're gonna grind them up.
We did taste some before,
Yeah, they taste tannic and bitter,
but they do.
and they smell like
But
a lumberyard. This is the primary food of native people in California and Oregon. People would carry hundreds of pounds of acorns on their backs into the deserts to the east because it was so highly prized. And they would, you gather them on the wet side of the Sierras and carry them out into the desert. People doing this kind of processing, usually they would be cooking it using stone boiling methods. So you've got fire nearby while you're processing the acorns, and so you get the shells get carbonized in a campfire, and you'll have these blackened shells will survive for thousands of years, and then you can radiocarbonate them. And so like in California, the oldest carbonized processed acorn remains go back to between 7,500 and 10,000 years ago. So it's been a very popular food here for a really, really, really long time. They were stored in these granaries, like loosely woven wickerwork, really big.
loosely woven.
Yeah, to allow air to sort of flow through. And so the acorns were stored, intact, and then you can just go and get them as you need them, and then go through this whole process. They were effectively crops that were maintained by different family groups. So they had, groves of acorns, and families would maintain particular trees that were theirs. The groves were maintained with fire and pruning, and then harvested. But what happened after the gold rush was an inability to see a forest of managed nut trees as a nut orchard. and then to sort of move in and say cut it down for timber. Even just the failure to burn it appropriately would cause the trees to not produce as much, driving people away from the groves that they'd been maintaining, that were their primary food source. So you had just this sort of dispossession of this agricultural system. So it was quickly forgotten as the people who maintained it were kept from doing it, or killed, or removed to desert environments where oaks don't grow. There's an origin story, and I forget which group of people have this story, but old man was showing the people the foods that they could eat out in the world, and he shows them potatoes and root vegetables, and then shows them the acorn, but the acorn is floating in a creek. And so sort of in that story is the information that you got to soak these things in water, because those first people, if it hadn't been soaking in a creek, they would have chomped down on something really tannic. We're going to leach it after grinding, and the reason for that is we're going to create as much surface area as possible. And
to get more of the tannins
to get more of the
off?
tannin
I
out.
see.
We're going to run it through cloth, like the old school method was to run it through sand.
Really?
People would make a sort of basin out of sand, and you get the sand wet, and then you put the meal down and run the water through and it drains through the sand.
And how long is the leaching process? How many times do we have to do it?
You do it, and you leach and you taste. And when you can't taste the tannin anymore, you're good. So we're just gonna pour it over a tea towel in a colander. All right.
I think we've done our job with the leaching.
It's gonna taste nuts. It's gonna be nuts.
Yes, come on and get your nuts. It's good and hot.
Whoa!
Hot nuts. Selling nuts.
Maple syrup.
Anybody here want to buy my nuts?
Good North American condiment on a North American food here.
Selling nuts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hot nuts. I've got nuts to sell. Me and the hot dog man had a scuffle on the
Oh
ground.
my gosh.
If you want
That's a good-
my
that's a good
nuts,
option.
don't have to
That
worry.
is delicious.
I got nuts. Hot nuts. Buying from the peanut man. Peanuts. Hot nuts. Anybody here want to buy my nuts?
Wow.
Acorns are delicious.
Hot nuts. I've got nuts to sell. When you see me standing on the corner so soon, trying to get my nuts all sold before noon, I got nuts. Hot nuts. You buying from the peanut man, I say. You buying from the peanut man.
Well, I guess we should try to get some more acorns.